Well, hello there, guys. Today we're going to be taking a look at Victoria 3. If you're anything like me, you've been waiting for this game for years, and it's finally here. So let's jump in and see what it looks like. Now, this is, of course, an early preview, so I can't give away too much right now. I just want to kind of give you guys a very quick visual of what the map looks like, what the leaders look like, the abilities, things like that. I absolutely think that aesthetically, this might be one of the prettiest Paradox games in existence. One thing I absolutely adore is that when you're clicking on these regions, you actually get proper rulers. You can actually take a look at the rulers. They have their own character traits instead of just having a name like you did in the old Victoria. Over here, we also have members of the East India Company, just in case you want to tackle that. Maybe you want to go for a chartered company instead of a government, or perhaps you'd like to fight as the United States of America. I mean, the choices are a great many, really. Even here in South America, I would be really curious to tackle one of these countries. But today I'm actually going to jump in and play as Prussia, just so that we get sort of an idea of what the objectives will be and things like that, especially for a country like this. And again, if you'd like me to do a campaign, I want you to know what country you want me to play as with my first playthrough. That being said, let's jump in here. The actual flow of the game is quite nice. Of course, you can always toggle the game to slow down as you did before. And over here on the left side, we've got a very large sort of UI system. I'm not sure this is going to please everybody, but I love that the hotkeys are right there. It's all F1, F2, F3, etc. And a great deal of information regarding population. This is something I also really like. Of course, the population was always represented in previous Victoria games, but here it's like you can actually see what these guys properly look like. There are some very helpful graphs here showing political strength of each of the population sectors. Essentially with aristocrats at the very top and academics and servicemen sort of at the bottom. Very interesting, of course. And, of course, it gives you just a tremendous amount of information regarding buildings, technology. This is the new technology tree screen. I think it's very pretty, but I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I really enjoy the Victoria 2 tech screen. It's essentially the same thing, it's just aesthetically different, and I prefer the old one. This one looks better, of course. Now, you also get, of course, proposals, as you would before. In this case, Frankfurt is asking us for a defensive pact. We're going to say no. But one thing I like is this current situation button. And in case you're fairly new to Victoria or, Paradox games in general, this actually really just allows you to, or gives you an idea of sort of what to go for next. So, for instance, if we were in the construction sector here, we'd take a look at one of these cities, Brandenburg, for instance, and maybe drop a port or a railway, for instance, or even just a standard construction sector over here in the Prussian market. So again, you do also get that wonderful information on your ruler. If you go to the details screen, you can actually, as you can see, retire. Now, you can't retire as a king. You can only retire as the head of a republic, I believe. So you're kind of stuck here as Friedrich. And from what I can tell, there is no actual family tree. I could be mistaken there. That's one thing I was kind of hoping for, but it's really neither here nor there, honestly. It's not a huge deal. Now, I love the military screen. I'm just going to show it to you guys, and look at this. We've got, of course, individual generals, and I just think this is such a nice touch, because it's almost like your generals can sort of be, like, truly important people in your society. And, of course, you can see here, they even have an interest group and an ideology. So the generals could be, like, much like Otto von Bismarck, they could be, like, true radicals. Trying to revitalize the system, or, maybe they're kind of laid-back, charismatic generals that the people just like. Very detailed budget screen as well here, as you can see. And of course, you can go ahead and increase tariffs. You can even increase consumption taxes by goods. So, for instance, you could increase consumption taxes on, luxury clothes or tobacco. Kind of whatever you're really looking for. Of course, for those of you looking for the colonization aspects of the game, a tremendous amount of African nations here, which can, of course, be taken over given some time. Just a lot of detail in this area. And if you want to look at the political tree, now this brings us to something entirely different, where you have actually got a government area here. You can actually reform the government. So for instance, maybe we go for a republic. And in this screen, you also get your heir apparent, who is Prince Friedrich Wilhelm von Hohenzollern. If we go to the details screen, I believe we can actually remove him as heir. I don't want to mess with that right now, though. I'd really just rather keep him there and keep him as useful as possible, of course. Now, when we go to the market, this is quite detailed. I have not yet wrapped my head around it at all. But you can, of course, import and export different goods. And, of course, I've mentioned to you guys the luxury tax elements, where you can, tax certain goods to make your population pay just a little bit extra for them. Now, there are definitely new elements to the game that that I find quite cool. So, for instance, unless you're part of something called diplomatic play, you're not actually allowed to raise your armies. Now, I don't think this is true for all governments, but as you take a look here, if you look at mobilized generals, we have to be part of a diplomatic play. So, essentially, we need to declare war on somebody, or we need to have war declared on us. We can't just have our armies kind of hanging out on the borders waiting for conflict. So that's fairly new. Again, I don't think that actually takes away from the game. I actually think it's quite realistic to the time period, because the supplies you need to, of course, keep these armies in play are quite significant. Now, I actually did want to declare war here on Anhalt, but unfortunately, guys, I'm very limited in what I can show you here for the preview. I would love to come back and play this game. So if you want me to do that, you know what you got to do. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below letting me know who you would like me to play as. I mean, we have so many different choices. I'm probably going to stay away from, like, African nations, as this would be really challenging, but I wouldn't be against playing as the Cape Colony, aka South Africa here, or even playing as one of the South American nations and seeing just how far I could get. Well, anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this preview of Victoria 3. I want to thank you all for being members of the Agrippa Maxenius channel, well, subscribers anyway, and I do hope you will become members by hitting that join button. To our existing members, I really appreciate everything you've done, and I hope to be bringing some new stuff to you soon. Take care, folks.